whole movie was actually an adventure in making movies. You could have actually done a spoof about making the thing. The people involved were characters. It was really just a big party. I'd been doing some theatrical work, and I'm a pyrotechnic chemist. I did some staging things, and just notorious for my gags and my pranks. And one of them, which got me the job, was, I'll explain what happened. I was called forward by Maurice and a guy named Nicky Phelan, who had seen me doing some theatrical gags. And they interviewed me at a restaurant in Queen Street. And first question is like, oh, so you're Gerald. Actually, it was called Score back then. So I heard you're good at special effects. What can you do? And I just sort of sat there because my mouth was rigged with a special combustible powder. And I just calmly lifted a match and blew a ball of fire across the restaurant room, across the table. Nicky was a little shaky. Maurice just calmly sat there and said, well, what else can you do? And he says, but you got the job. So after that, I sort of had free hand. Now that particular ball of fire was seen, we did a laboratory explosion scene, and literally it looked like the whole lab was going, but I was actually there blowing a ball of fire at Kent. I used the smoke, the skywriting, because I couldn't really set something fire. This was a working high school. We really snuck in there between classes to blow up their lab, right? I directed that scenes. There's a little bit of notoriety and notoriousness about it, because the chemicals that are on the desk are of a notorious nature. One of the gags that we did at Central Tech was the Spanish fly punch bowl, which most people said, yeah, throw dry ice in the punch bowl. I came with a better plan. As an ancient, very old, rare chemical that they use, say, in the Titanic. It's a chemical that actually produces a gas that catches fire when it hits air. So rather than your basic dry ice, it was these rocks that got thrown in the punch bowl. They bubbled up, and suddenly, pow! There's smoke rings and bubbles, flames coming off them. I got a standing ovation for that. Probably the only time in my life. But as a prank, though, we actually put some in the water fountain, so that the next day when somebody came to take a drink of water, fire came out of the fountain. And of course, the fire department was called, but they wouldn't come to a call that said our water fountain is on fire. They just thought that it was a prank call. So there's a lot of things like that.
Yeah, Miss Purity Bush.
There was one scene that was probably written out. It was when we were going to have some frogs having sex, and I don't know if they stayed in, but the frogs had died during the weekend. So I was sort of forced to wire two frogs together, do that old electrical thing to make them jerk. And I think that was a bit of brilliance on my part that never made the film, but we still talk about the zombie frogs that were making love on the set of Screwballs. The hot dog in the front was something my kids rode many, many years. Daddy, why do you have such a giant hot dog? Actually, probably the one that was probably the most hilarious was the throbbing male appendages scene, where there's something beating, and of course the prudish librarian is wondering what it's coming from. And of course, you get the sight gag where when the camera goes under the scene, there's some gentleman showing arousal in sequence. Now, at first we tried to practice with guys with porno to see if they can do it all at once, but it didn't work. So I ultimately came up with an apparatus, very simple, that had to be hidden, which was a 60cc syringe with a vacuum hose going to one end and a pressure hose going to the other, and it was all stitched to a athletic support. So and it could be extended and retracted in sequence with me pushing two buttons. But the first time we did it, one of the actors who knew it all said, well, he didn't want it installed, even though I had a beautiful assistant doing this. I'll do it myself. So he put it on backwards. So for the first take, it was pointed inward rather than outward. So as you can see, this guy sitting there, and next thing you know, he's on the floor going, ah. Well, now he calls himself Betty and owns, she calls himself Betty, and owns a sexual appliance store. But at the time, it was quite funny, and we got it to work the other way around. It was quite the gag had to work that way. As you see, we had a lot of fun gags like that, and they were innocent, but they were tasteful enough that you could get a laugh out of them. Now things are, excuse the expression, toilet humor. There's none of that. It was a chance to explore and experiment. And we laughed about it. And again, after the scenes, we had fun after. We became quite close, a lot of us, as regards to that. You know, it was fun making a movie that was exploring our silliness, you know. Well, some of them have gone out to do major things and they're out on day passes, so I can't say we've all, you know, not been successful, but it is kind of interesting to find out where they've gone. I've done nothing, you know. I've got nothing, you know. I've done a lot of things that that I get, you know, the bad boy of the film industry. I pick various projects by virtue of the fact that they're going to cause a lot of trouble. 12 years ago, I actually encountered a society called Screwballs Appreciation Society that met every month and discussed screwballs, and they actually invited me down to talk at how and describe how these effects were come. One of the members was a skywriter, and there is a prominent scene where Kent is running with smoke coming off his back. And that's skywriting fluid. That's what they used to do chemtrails with, as a conspiracy theories. And so I used to get this stuff from him, and in the process of buying, I got invited to this, you know, this little cult genre. So. But this actually worked out as planned. It stayed true to the vision, and it was a hoot. It really was a laugh. It really kind of had a twisted mind behind it all, and I think I was part of that twisted mind. See, I've been twisted ever since.